Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Media Boat Podcast, your weekly episodes where we talk about movies, TV, music, and video games, not necessarily in that order. My name is Mike. His name is Matt.
Hi, my name is Matt. His name is Mike. Thank you for joining us today on the Media Boat Podcast. Today is May the 7th, 2024. Today is episode 434 of our fine show. And yeah, everything you said is true. So we're just going to
We're
get
going to
right
dive
into it.
right in because we got thoughts everywhere. So let's start with the music section. Start the music section with the Billboard. Start the Billboard with the Hot 100. And hey, remember how it was Taylor Swift everywhere last week? Last night. Well,
Last night.
I say last night because I'm looking at Fortnite as it's still number one song on the Hot 100. That's Taylor Swift featuring Post Malone, but with Fortnite at number one. At number two, Million Dollar Baby, not the movie. This is the song by Tommy Richmond. At three, a bar song. Pick the bar, I guess, and pick the
I
song
guess. I guess so.
by Shabuzi. At four, a delicious espresso made by Sabrina Carpenter.
That's that her espresso.
Yes. And rounding out your top five, Beautiful Things by Benson Boone. As for your Billboard 200, it's no surprise, The Torture Poets Department by Taylor Swift is still your number one album.
Yeah.
Coming in at two, One Thing at a Time by Morgan Wallen. At three, We Don't Trust You by Future and Metro Boomin. Coming in at four, Cowboy Carter by Beyonce. And rounding out your top five, Stick Season by Noah Kahan. If that billboard sounded at all familiar, I'm pretty sure nothing changed. If you like any of those albums, we have new releases, starting with some Britpop by A.G. Cook. We also have I'm Totally Fine With It, Don't Give a Fuck Anymore by Arab Strap. If that's too vulgar, we also have Poetry by Dehead. That's a HD Dehead.
Yeah.
There's also Vows by Hot Water Music. I Am Toward You by How to Dress Well. Can We Please Have Fun by Kings of Leon? Yes, that Kings of Leon.
Yeah.
Uh, we also have Stampede, Volume 1 by Orville Peck. Yes, the masked singer himself, Orville Peck.
Mhm.
And lastly, Children Within the Man by Sebastian Bach.
Just one child there.
Yes, just one child, but it is
Child within the
still
man.
Bach. All right. Let's get into the music news, or should we say the music beef, because this section is all about the Kendrick Lamar and Drake from Canada beef.
It just kept going.
It did. We thought it was done, and then it just kept going because it's been a very busy weekend in the ongoing rap beef between these two. On Friday morning, Lamar released a, a song, rap beef diss, called 616 in LA, named in a similar fashion to many of Drake's tracks. Drake then followed later that night with Family Matters. And then 20 minutes later, Kendrick Lamar dropped Meet the Grahams that featured verses directed towards various members of Drake's family. Then on Saturday, Kendrick Lamar put out yet another diss entitled Not Like Us, which doubled down on allegations of Drake's pedophilia. The latest installment came on Sunday evening with the release of The Heart Part 6. Drake adds to Lamar's ongoing Part 5 The Heart series that began way back in 2010 with his own entry, derailing his foe's bigger vision. Or did he?
Well, yeah, that's kind of the question is, did Drake actually get any points against Kendrick if you're scoring at home? No, it doesn't look like it. Pretty much, Kendrick Lamar has gone on an all out assault on Drake and his character and his friends and his family and everybody else. So yeah, it definitely looks like most people are in Kendrick's side here. Drake is looking more and more likely to be, how do you say, canceled very soon here. And I don't think that there's a whole lot of talk or rap or anything he can do about it. I think that this has been just an all out slaughter.
If Kendrick Lamar's lyrics are anything to be taken to heart, pun intended, uh, then the FBI would be raiding Drake's home really shortly.
Yeah,
Or maybe his other
maybe.
home, or maybe his other child, or maybe we don't know.
Who knows, honestly.
But yeah, did you listen to any of these
No, no,
diss
no,
tracks?
not since the first one. I have not because I'm like, you know what? This is none of my business.
Oh,
That's what
okay.
I'm saying.
Yes, none of my business either, but I've been watching people react to it.
Yes,
And
that has been fun.
yes, the fallout seems to be that Kendrick just wraps circles around Drake. All
Yeah.
this stemming from Drake and what's the other guy's name? Claiming that like Kendrick Lamar was like ranked third in like the current rap trio.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's like
it's like, is he?
easy though, easy.
Does it matter? Does it really matter?
And that's the thing, is I think that Kendrick is proving that it doesn't. Like that this is definitely a memorable music moment. I think a lot of people will this will go down as a very legendary kind of fight, although it's so one-sided. It just seems unfair, like in so many ways.
Well, see, in a fight, there's an equal chance that either one could win. This isn't a fight. It's a
Yeah.
slaughter, a hunt. I think it's a hunt. But yeah, the beef continues. Maybe we'll see if either of them release another diss track. I just kind of find it funny that they're just like sleeping in the studio waiting for a diss track to drop, and they're like, "Oh, put me in, coach,
Yeah.
put me in there. I got one in the cooking right now."
It definitely was that there was a vibe of like, okay, I saw a tweet. Somebody was like, "Oh, you know, Kendrick's got like three MP3s just waiting. If Drake responds, if Drake says this, if Drake is like, all right, go publish."
It's like all those theory videos out there, like if this gets released, if this gets released, if this
Yeah,
gets released. All
yeah.
right.
It's been fun to watch. I mean, obviously there are some implications here that are not fun at all about
Yes.
what Drake maybe has or hasn't done, or maybe even what Kendrick has or hasn't done, depending on who you are believing in this. But yeah, regardless, it's some rough stuff between them, but it is entertaining, I will say, to watch them go at each other because rap beef is a classic part of the genre, and it's cool to see it back.
It's also fun going to Wikipedia and seeing the different rap beefs that both
Yeah.
Kendrick Lamar and Drake have been involved in. I think specifically Drake. He's been involved in like three already. I
Yeah.
believe he's lost all three.
Well, I mean, yeah, if you're counting at home,
If you're keeping score, which one you shouldn't, but two, Drake gets bodied easily. Moving on, let's get into thoughts. Did you listen to anything?
um,
Do a quick
just Dua
glance.
Lipa.
Oh, you also listened to a radical
I mean, of course
optimism.
I did. What else was I supposed to do?
Oh, no, I thought you were going to leave that to me because you were too. I don't know. Were you excited for this start for this drop?
I mean, excited is a word for it. I think I was interested to see what it would sound like. I mean, let's face it, Future Nostalgia was a great record, and it made a huge impact upon its release, not only because it was during the pandemic and we needed a big dance record, but the fact that it kind of like put more life and more forward momentum into this new dance pop kind of trend that's been happening the last 4 or 5 years. So it was I was interested for sure to see how Dua Lipa would follow that. And then on top of that, she's also become even bigger of a artist and celebrity than ever before. You know, she's been showing up on all sorts of things, doing cameos in movies. And so yeah, it was kind of I was definitely interested in to see what this was. So did Radical Optimism deliver for you, or are you disappointed that it's not future nostalgia too?
I It would have been hard to follow up Future Nostalgia too. Much the same way it's hard to follow up any record that's like so entwined in like cultural zeitgeist that we've seen other artists point to Casey Musgraves, unable to follow up on her golden hour. But with Radical Optimism, I think it's split where there are some hits. I think there's some misses. I think there's a couple missteps here. But overall, I think that it's a pop album. All the songs start to try and like sound very similar. But I am just very glad that it's a 36-minute record and not a double album.
Yeah.
I think I enjoyed it, but it's really hard to go and top Future Nostalgia.
I mean, yes, there is a little bit of an element of yeah, how do you follow that kind of lightning in a bottle moment? That was that record.
Mhm.
I think a lot of it does a pretty good job though. I enjoy a lot of the songs on this record. I enjoy that she's actually trying some different things. Um, but the danciest tracks are the best tracks. Of course, the singles are all here, and they're still just as good with Houdini and Training Season, and most recently Illusion, which I cannot get out of my head.
Yes.
It has just been following me for the last 3 days. I can't shake it. But I like a lot of the new songs, including what is it, Falling Forever?
Yes.
That thing is
That-
wild. It sounds like 1997 Eurodance, and it's just like, whoa, where did this come from?
yeah, I want that song to be a hit. That song
Yeah,
sounds
it
like a hit.
it could be. It's huge. It's just like the chorus is just like I don't know if we've had a chorus that big since Sia's Chandelier. Like that just like it does something that no songs are really doing right now, which is really impressive. I will say though, to your point, it's not future nostalgia in the way that it does actually leave room for some slower ballad style tracks, which don't really work for me as well. I think when the record slows down in the last leg of it, it's not as great. I really like Maria, but the tracks around it didn't hit for me. And I do kind of was kind of lacking the same energy. And so at the end of the day, I think it's a very good record. It's definitely a good pop record and one of the better ones of the year, certainly. I like it better than Taylor, which is something you're going to have to hear from me probably a lot this year, believe it or not. Um, but at the end of the day, yeah, you're right. It's not future nostalgia, but I think it's really good for what it is. And I think that as long as people remember, hey, we shouldn't be judging it just by the record before it, I think there's a lot to enjoy here.
Yeah, there's a lot to enjoy. I just don't feel myself like eager to go to a concert for this, where I was for Future Nostalgia, and then did for that record. I just don't feel like that same kind of level of hype is surrounding this record right now.
Right. No, I mean, yes and no. Like I said, Dua Lipa's been like is bigger than ever right now.
Right,
So I
she
think a lot
just
of
pulled
people,
double duty on SNL.
yes, watched that today. She did an okay job. I feel like they didn't really take advantage of her in those sketches. She just was playing kind of generic characters instead of like characters. And I was like, oh, come on. I want to see Dua do some like acting here.
Right.
But besides that, I think she did an okay job. But yeah, I think you're right. I think she has a slightly different audience now that maybe future nostalgia opened the door to. And yeah, I don't know how this is going to track. So it'll be really interesting to see how this fares.
Yeah, it's to see where it charts, especially going up against Taylor and Morgan Wallen.
Yeah, I think it still has a shot at number one next week. Because I think that even though it's been breaking records, I think Tortured Poets will have a drop off and we'll see it sooner than later.
We're waiting for that drop off.
Yeah,
All right. Anything else to
that's
say, or are we good to move on then?
that was it for me.
I think we're good then. So let's move into video games, where we start with new releases. Starting with Animal Well for the PC, PS5, and the Switch. This is Crow Country for the PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X. We also have Little Kitty, Big City for everything but the PlayStation.
Yes, that is because this is a Game Pass deal, so that's why you're not seeing it on a PlayStation yet. I'm sure it'll come later in the year. But yeah, I might take a look at this. Christy and I thought this was interesting at the one of the I think there was an Xbox Indie Showcase or something where they showed this off, and it looks cute. You're a little cat, and you can like dress your cat in little costumes and stuff. And so yeah, I'll check it out.
Yeah. We also have V Rising for the PC. And then your wide releases, including Rainbow Cotton, out on everything, Heading out on everything, except the Switch. And then lastly, Pac-Man Mega Tunnel Battle, Chomp Champs,
Chomp
out
champs,
for everything. You got it, you can play it. Eat those Pac-Man pellets.
etc.
All right, let's get into some video game news.
Unfortunately, this is breaking news that happened this morning, and it's a huge downer.
Yes, Xbox, known for making the worst decisions ever. See Halo and Gears of War, and whatever that like Serpentine title that got canned before it came out, uh, is now closing down 4 Bethesda studios, including Redfall developer Arcane Austin and beloved darling Hi-Fi Rush studio Tango Gameworks. They are joined by Alpha Dog and Roundhouse Games, all of which will be closing down, with some staff joining other teams. That's according to the memo sent out to staff. The said staff were told the news over email by Xbox Games studio head Matt Booty. A copy of the message was first reported by IGN. Mr. Booty told staff that the decision was based on a quote reprioritization of titles and resources, end quote, and that some employees will be realigned to other teams and others laid off.
Oh, this is brutal for a couple of reasons. I mean, well, there's the general reason, which is yet
People lose
more,
their jobs, yes,
yep,
out of
yet more
work.
people are losing their jobs at Xbox, and it's unfortunate to see, especially after they just paid a lot of money to acquire Activision and talk such a big game about how that was going to improve the company and how they were just a little guy and this was just keeping them competitive and all this stuff. That all seems pretty much like a lie now, looking back at that. So there's that, kind of blanketing over all of this. The second thing is specifically the studios we're losing here. Now, I don't know a whole lot about Alpha Dog and Roadhouse. My understanding, doing some brief research, is that Alpha Dog was, I think, publishing some sort of free-to-play game, and I think Roundhouse was mostly a quality control kind of consumer support kind of company. But the focus of this morning has mostly been on Arcane, Austin, and Tango Gameworks. Tango Gameworks, of course, as you mentioned, gave us beloved game Hi-Fi Rush.
The
It,
media boat game of the year, Hi-Fi
yeah,
Rush.
won several different Game of the Year awards, won all sorts of different kinds of awards. Won a BAFTA like a couple of weeks ago for animation.
Just released
Um,
on the PlayStation a couple weeks ago too.
yeah, and apparently did pretty well sales wise
Mhm.
too. From what I've heard, is that it performed really well on Game Pass and then sold really well on and was going to, I think, if not already, be on PlayStation. Um, so what happened? Like, what this is seems like a very strange decision, strange call to make on a studio that was just recently really successful and with a new original idea, new IP too. Like, that's really important these days. A studio that could have done something even crazier and better the next time around, and they just pull the rug right from under them. It's just incredibly nearsighted of a decision to make. Arcane Austin, though, in comparison, unfortunately, their last game was Redfall, which was pretty much universally disliked, had the opposite reaction that Hi-Fi Rush had. Did okay from what I could like what I could tell sales wise, but yeah, was definitely a disappointment in all sorts of ways. But they had DLC for that game that hasn't launched. They had pre-order like characters that haven't been delivered yet. So they made a statement today saying that there will be some sort of make good for the people who did spend extra money on that game, but the extra planned DLC will not be happening. So you can still buy the games; they still exist, Hi-Fi Rush and Redfall. But yeah, they won't be supported going forward. And yeah, that's kind of it for the future of those franchises. They'll just be one game forever, which is really sad.
Joining in like Sunset Overdrive in Xbox's one
Yeah,
game series, one game
yeah,
IP.
so disappointing. There's always a possibility that somehow some IP gets shuffled around and maybe they get to see the light of day again. But yeah, it's sad that that will be an isolated kind of one shot. And then also it's sad for the people who are inevitably going to be laid off because of these decisions. Some staff will be moved, but that's no guarantee for all of them. And yeah, it's really disappointing to see that, especially after, you know, they,
Was
they
this at all like hinted at when was it the head of Tango Gameworks like left the company?
No, I don't think that that's related. I think that that departure has less to do with, I think, Microsoft as much as it did the creative choice of that developer. He's an industry veteran who has been like doing this for a while, and I think he needed an opportunity to retire. I don't know if he saw this coming or what, but I don't think that that was Microsoft trying to push him out.
All right.
I think that that's largely a coincidence. I think the fact that they were saying such glowing things about Tango up until this point makes me think that this was a last minute choice that they just looked at numbers and just decided that this had to be done.
Yeah, super strange considering that they just bought all these
Yeah.
studios. And I guess if your game doesn't make $1 billion
Right.
or help get them recuperating the 69 billion they spent on Bethesda or 74 billion or whatever,
Yeah.
that it's like, oh, you're not making enough money, so better to close you than give you a
Yeah.
chance.
I think that the story here is really at the end of the day, it's becoming harder and harder to be in Microsoft's corner.
They
Like,
draw horns on the Xbox logo yet?
I know, right? We're getting there. It feels like because like time after time, I mean, none of these companies are good. None of these companies are making really player based decisions right now. It seems like they're all very money minded, and it's going to be that way until money gets easier to borrow. I think ultimately until venture capital starts being more powerful again. It's sad, but that's the reality, right? It's all about money,
Are you
and
telling me it's a business?
yeah, it's a business, unfortunately, and it just happened. And these decisions over and over and over again are just making it harder to appreciate the actual games that we get and will get. The other story here that I wish I could have led with instead was that Nintendo, in a very corporate way, finally confirmed that they will be announcing a Switch follow-up in this
In this
fiscal
fiscal
year, quote
year.
unquote, which could mean anytime between now and March.
Yep.
So not next month because they said it won't be in their June Summer Games Fest window direct. But
Yeah, I wish we could talk about that. I wish we could
we should
just
be talking
say it's
about that
going to be
instead.
happening in March, but no, we gotta eat the veggies.
Yeah, yeah, the veggies. But anyway, so RIP Tango, RIP Arcane Austin, and Alpha Dog and Roadhouse. I hope everybody finds their footing, whether it's at Microsoft or somewhere else. And I hope it really works out because that's a rough blow to be dealt.
Just etching another notch under the evil corporation that is Xbox.
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
not
Microsoft,
great.
just Xbox.
Yeah, not a great look.
Yes. All right. Speaking of not a great look, let's talk about EA.
EA.
Yes. Not the game company, Electronic Arts, but rather EA Early Access. Because you played a game.
Yes.
Um,
Early
uh,
access.
yes, I've seen people refer to this as EA. I'm like, wait, EA didn't make Hades 2. Why do they keep saying that?
EA. Early
Super
access.
Giant,
Yes.
Supermassive Giant isn't a part of EA. I don't think so.
Yes, super giant, not super massive. You're getting the
Yes,
names
those two
twisted.
combined. Yes.
Very different. Very different. I think Supermassive does Until Dawn.
Right.
Yeah. Anyways, yes, buried the lead a bit there, but yes, I played Hades 2 in early access, the sequel to Media Boat Game of the Year 2020,
I
Hades.
believe so, yes.
Sounds right. So
Sounds
yeah,
right.
we're enjoying two sequels to things that we loved in 2020. Dua Lipa record and Hades. Um,
And there's an election year. What year is it?
yeah, what year is this? But yeah, every 4 years, I guess this is when these things happen. But
Yes.
yeah, Hades 2, of course, the sequel to Hades, the game that kind of reinvigorated the roguelike and kind of opened the door to a lot of other studios to try their hands at it and kind of established it as a like really popular genre. Um, it was an incredible game. I mean, we don't need to tell you that. Everybody's played Hades at this point. It's an excellent, excellent roguelike. Just feels great moment to moment. Fun characters, great storyline, and just yeah, it's just a bundle of fun, fun stuff. Well, yeah, I'm happy to report that even in its early access form, Hades 2 is very much what you want a sequel to Hades to be. It's a lot of fun so far. It is structured pretty much identically. You have a different main character. But besides that, a lot of what Hades did great carries on. There are some new stuff. They do toss in a lot of new systems and mechanics to keep you. So you do have to basically still learn a lot of the game just as you did when you started Hades. If you did play Hades, though, you do have at least a little bit of a step up because you kind of get the idea of I'm descending through the underworld. I'm going to go through three or four or question mark stages until I get to like some sort of ultimate final boss. And if I die, I have to start over again. I get sent back to the lobby. I can talk to my friends, gear up, and go back and try again. That is true. What's new here is remember in Hades 1, the mechanic where you could throw that little red diamond thing at enemies to like possess them, and that could have various effects, like it could do damage to them or it could
Yes.
make them
It
more
is your
susceptible to
alt.
damage.
Yes.
So that's gone.
Okay.
Replaced with that mechanic is a time freezing mechanic of sorts, which when you activate it, it creates like a circle on the ground around you, and any enemies caught in that will time freeze. I say time freeze because there's still the freeze mechanic from the first game as well.
Mhm.
So it's different from that. But yeah, and it slows or freezes them so that way you have a little bit more time to get a combo in, attack them more. The other thing that's changed here is hey, do you like charging things? Well, good news. Everything can be charged now. So your
Yes.
normal X attack can be charged for a different effect. Your special can be charged for a different effect. And even that aforementioned time freeze mechanic can be charged for a special effect. But here's the catch. It all costs mana. You now have a mana
Yes.
meter that you have to watch alongside your health. And it recharges every room, but it's a limited resource as long as you're still in the room. There
Do
are
the specific skills also recharge?
yeah, you can use them as long as there's mana.
Okay.
And if it's not something that you're charging, it won't use mana. That's generally the rule. You're still getting boons from your gods, friends. You're still,
Mhm.
though there's brand new ones and there's brand new gods to give you boons as well. There's new items to pick up. There's a kind of light resource system, kind of like a survival game, but not nearly as intense, where you are gathering like flowers and digging up seeds and stuff. And those have reason things you can exchange them for in the lobby for other additional items. And you are technically like contributing like resources to future weapons instead of just unlocking them at an arbitrary time. So there's a little bit more of a resource-based system thing going on in the background. But as someone who doesn't like survival games or resource-based like mechanics, it's barely there. It's not like yelling at you. It's very much just like, hey, you need like 3 silver to build this. So next time, go get some silver. Which brings up the other new mechanic, which is you now have a weapon and a tool that you choose to bring into every run. Your tool could be a pickaxe to get silver from rocks, or It could be a shovel to dig into holes into dirt holes. You can only do one of those at a time, though. And so you'll have to pick and choose before you go on a run. Hey, do I really need silver to build stuff? Or do I need these seeds? Or what am I
A
looking for in this
resource,
run?
yeah, a
Yeah, and you're
resource pool.
choosing that alongside your weapon. So yeah, you'll be able to kind of pick and choose and customize your run a little bit more than you could before. There's a couple of other things too that are happening that are new that
Have you
are
gone
actually
to the companions yet?
so I'm not sure. And when I say when I'm not sure, but what I mean by that is it looks like some of the stuff is the same, but it's not all of it. For example, you do have the same mechanic of you can give gifts to the gods or people in the lobby, your friends, to get their like little special boons, like that help you like have some sort of buff for the
Yeah, it
run.
used to be like the ambrosia you give it to them, and like your
Yeah,
um,
it's still the same.
relationship status increases.
Yeah, that carries on. I just haven't gotten deep enough in that to know where it eventually goes.
Okay.
But at least at the beginning, it works the same. So from the jump, you once that's introduced to you, once you get the ambrosia, you can then start divvying it up, just as you did in the first game. And a lot of the same stuff in the lobby still remains the same, where there's kind of a place where you're building new mechanics. In this case, it's a giant cauldron because you kind of play as a witch. There's also a place where you can buy and sell items. There's also a thing where like you can kind of look at your like achievement list, for lack of a better term, and unlock things that way as well. So yeah, it's Hades. But there's enough new stuff, I think, where even people who played the original to death are going to find a lot of new things to learn and new cool things to find and explore and discover. And moment to moment still plays that good. Um, with some minor caveats. It is a game that's in early access, so not all of it feels as polished as the 1.0 release of the first game. Like I noticed some of the area of effect, like hitboxes of some of the boss attacks, particularly, I couldn't tell if it was hitting me or it wouldn't hurt me, even though it like an animation was going through me.
Mhm.
So there's little bits and pieces that they probably just need to refine with playtesting, which is what we're all doing in the early access. So they're going to take feedback, I'm sure, and they're going to look at this stuff and try to iron out those kinks. And I'm sure it'll get better and better and better. Also to note, there is no. I'm under the impression that there's an entire zone that is not in the game yet that will be added at a later date.
Okay.
That's not me saying though that if you're interested at all, that you shouldn't pay the $29.99 to just play it now, because I wholeheartedly recommend it. If you like Hades, it's a no-brainer. So I still
Yes.
recommend it, and it's just going to get better from here.
Only thing is that's available on Steam or Epic Games
Mhm.
Store. So if you have a PC, you can play it.
Yes. Anyone
If you
else has
don't,
to wait.
you gotta wait.
Yeah.
Yep.
So womp womp. But but everybody who can play it, I definitely recommend it. I think it's worth a try, even in its early access state.
All right. No word on when the early access will be lifted into official 1.0 release.
No.
But I mean, from what I've seen a couple of people do run throughs. I did watch some people who were like masters of Hades 1 do a couple run throughs as well. They're having a blast. They're talking about all the different mechanics that
Mhm.
feels the same, but also all the new stuff that feels different, and just trying to like master it and speed run it. And people are excited for it. It's a good thing. I mean, it does feel like a surprise dropped out of nowhere too.
Yeah, I mean, we had known that the press had access to kind of an early version a couple of weeks ago, but yeah, the announcement for early access kind of just came out of nowhere yesterday. And so, yeah, they could easily do the same thing for a proper release, though they will need time to, for this to cook a little bit. But I would not be surprised if we were talking like September, October, that they feel like, hey, yeah, I feel like we've got enough feedback for this. Let's open the floodgates, or maybe we don't see until next year. But regardless, it's going to be good no matter what.
Well, I think the first Hades game was in early access or beta testing for like a year and a half, right?
Yeah, but in this case, they kind of already have Hades 1 as a baseline. That helps a tremendous amount, I'm sure, if you're making a new game that's
Yeah.
based on it. So I don't think we're going to wait that long.
All right. Well then, if nothing else, did you play? I guess you didn't play anything else then.
No, that's pretty much it.
All right. Then let's move into television.
Yes, and we always start the television section with the with the sports corner. Yeah, that the thing that you're pointing at. And the sports corner starts with some headlines across the world of sports, including the Kentucky Derby, which was won this year by Mystic Dan.
Yes, get your. Hope you had your big hats and your mint juleps ready because it
Yes.
was the 150th running of the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah, and it looks like Mystic Dan was almost not the winner as he won barely by a horse nose in a three-horse photo finish.
A literal horse nose as it came down to the wire. Very
Yes.
exciting. It's on YouTube if you didn't watch it live, but they had to wait like 10 minutes before they actually declared who the winner was. So they're interviewing all the different, if you watch it live, they're interviewing all the different owners of the horses. Like, oh, do you think your horse won? Do you think your horse won? How do you think your horse did? It's like trying to like buy time for the like a winner was to, like finally decided.
Yeah. Horse racing. It still happens
Yeah.
somehow. So yeah, will Mystic Dan go on to try his fate in the other two races?
Yes, he's this one leg down of the Triple Crown. Up next is the Preakness in a month, followed by Belmont in June.
All right. So wait and see.
Yes.
All right, let's move on from horse racing to women's basketball. More eyes are on it than ever, thanks to, of course, Caitlin Clark and everyone who wowed everybody in the college championships this year. But now they've all moved on to the WNBA, and we are very soon away. In fact, today will be the preseason for the WNBA, which is a whole week long because the proper season starts next Tuesday on the 14th.
Yes. Their preseason is literally only a week. They all play one game until the start of the season, which is next Tuesday.
I guess, yeah, they don't need much of a warm up. They're ready to go. So yeah, good for them. So yeah, I guess take a look at some WNBA play if you were impressed by some of these women, and maybe it'll be the biggest season ever for them. Maybe.
Maybe.
All right, let's move on to some other leagues here. We have Major League Baseball. If you're a White Sox or a Rockies fan, you have been suffering this season. Like we'd like to believe that we suffer as Angels fans, but it could be worse. And these two teams are a good example of how it could be worse. Both the White Sox and the Rockies have yet to hit even 10 wins this season. That's brutal.
Yeah, it's not a fun ride for either of those teams. Didn't the Rockies, I mean, aren't you on the Rockies? Is your pitcher on the Rockies?
Yeah, my player play on the show 24. Yes, pitches for the Rockies. But even I had a rocky season, so that's not surprising that this would be happening to them. Yeah, it's just every time I see, highlights from their games, it's just yeah, just awful defense. They can't get an offense going. Just like things just fall apart for these teams in a way that's just kind of embarrassing. Um, yeah, it's just they got to get something figured out. But a lot of teams right now have got to get something figured out because there's some teams that are just taking this season by force and it will be hard to catch up to.
Have you seen the rumor of the Houston Astros being sold or
Oh no, I've not
wanting
seen
to?
this.
Okay. There's some rumor going around that because they're actually having a bad season, that they might be tanking to sell the team.
Interesting. What do you
So they,
think?
I don't know, because it's just like this is the first season in a long time that they're not at the top of the AL West. So I think it's just rumors for rumors' sake, but it's interesting to watch.
Okay. Well, we'll see. Um, yeah. So all eyes on
Yep.
Houston then. We'll see if that happens. Is that what we're doing too then? Is that did everybody like agree
Oh
to
no, see,
tank?
we should have done that like a while ago.
We really should have done that a long time ago, but I don't think it would make a difference.
No, it would not.
No, oh, Artie. Anyway, let's move on to the NBA. Hey, season's over, or almost over, but there are awards to give out before
The
that
regular
happens.
season's over. Yes.
Yes, the regular season's over, but there are awards to give out. Steph Curry, the one and only, apparently, won the Clutch Player of the Year award. Mark, oh boy, here we go. Diagono won Coach of the Year. Mr. COVID himself, Rudy Gobert,
Gobert.
won
Yes.
Defensive Player of the Year. San Antonio Spurs' Victor Wembanyama has won the NBA Rookie of the Year award. And the
Hmm.
first player in league history to reach 1,500 points, 700 rebounds, 250 blocks, and 100 three-pointers made in a single season. So congratulations.
Yes, but just don't touch him because he'll get swatted by his guards, Brittany.
Yeah, we've seen this. We've seen this happen.
Yes. In
And
case you're wondering about the actual NBA MVP of the season,
hmm,
unfortunately, they're doing it on a daily basis or a nightly basis. So we won't find out until tomorrow.
got it. So we'll talk about that next week.
Yes. Currently your top three nominated people are Luka Doncic of the Dallas Mavericks, Nikola Jokic, the Joker himself of Denver Nuggets, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander of Oklahoma City Thunder. One of those
All
three will
right,
win the MVP award and maybe try for an NBA championship.
perhaps. Only one way to find out. I guess we'll see what happens with that. In the meantime, here the playoff picture is starting to get tighter and tighter. Your eliminated teams so far are the Heat, the Clippers, the Magic, the 76ers, and the Bucks. Conference semifinals begin soon. You don't have a date here.
Today, yes,
Today. Got it.
yes, they're officially beginning today, tonight. Actually, they're playing right now because East Coast.
All right. Meanwhile, just as the NBA is having their playoffs, the NHL is as well eliminated from hockey playoffs so far. The Golden Knights, the Jets, the Kings, the Islanders, the Predators, and the Maple Leafs. Are you happy to see the Golden Knights eliminated?
Yes, I am, but then again, so are the Kings eliminated. So
Yeah, what are you going
what am I going to
to
do?
do? Second
Root
round
for the
of,
Canucks, I guess,
yeah, I guess
because there
so.
is a Canadian series going on right now.
Ooh. Well, we'll have to see. Then the second round of playoffs are beginning today. You also
Yes,
don't have
no
a date
one's
here
yeah,
today.
being today, no one has won a game, lost a game.
All right.
But yeah, it's the Canucks versus the Oilers, Edmonton Oilers. So go Canada. You at least have
Go.
one team in the conference finals.
Indeed. Guess we'll see. All right. Then lastly, in sports headlines, college volleyball, as UCLA has won back-to-back men's volleyball championships. So congratulations to them.
Yes, but also screw you because you beat Long Beach State. Sorry.
is that is that why this is in here?
That's the only reason I know this happened.
Got it.
But
Well,
no, congratulations, men's volleyball. We will see you in the Olympics.
yeah. All I can say is, yeah, let's think about UCLA in the terms of sports right now, because the college campuses have had a lot to deal with lately. So I'm hoping that they're balancing the terror of literally having police called in to attack their own students, to at least enjoy some sports, to kind of ease the blow of that. Just embarrassing stuff happening on college campuses the last couple of
Hey, we're not
years,
a
a couple
political
of weeks.
podcast.
No, we're not, but it's just, come on, man. Come on. Like protests are fine. Protests are fine. Like they're supposed to, the whole point is to get in the way of things. They're supposed to be disruptive. That's the whole
The
idea.
point, the idea of a protest.
That's the point. Anyways, sorry. All right, let's move on out of sports and into television news. We have a television headline about a movie today, weirdly enough.
Oh, it's not about a movie.
Well, it's about a movie
Yes.
franchise, the Blade Runner franchise, as a Blade Runner series is in the works at Amazon Prime Video and has cast Michelle Yeoh in a lead role. Called Blade Runner 2099, it serves as a sequel to both the original Blade Runner film and the follow-up film Blade Runner 2049. Exact plot details are being kept under wraps, but sources say that Yeoh will play a character named Olwyn, described as a replicant near the end of her life. Also no word about, I guess, who's involved in this, like direction or writing or anything.
No, not that I saw. Just that it
Interesting.
was being brought to Amazon and they picked it up, and Michelle Yeoh officially got casted. No word if this will tie into the Black Lotus Blade Runner animated series
Oh yeah.
that has been going on Cartoon Network for 2 seasons. I think I want to say 2 seasons.
Okay.
But if you're a fan of Blade Runner, and if you're a fan of Blade Runner 2049 with Denis Villeneuve directing it, uh, don't be shocked if he comes like on as a consultant for it. And it looks pretty good, but Amazon had did well with Fallout just now.
Yeah.
They have a lot of big IP properties, so this is just another one in their fist, jewel, notch, crown. I don't know. What
Something.
does Amazon have?
It could be good.
Warehouse.
Yeah. Something. Yeah, exactly. In their warehouse. Yeah, I mean, it could be decent. I mean, those Blade Runner, it's good source material to base a television show off. I think there's a lot you can dig into there. So as long as it's quality, as long as they do a good job, this could be cool.
Yeah, I just hope they don't send it up to be a part of like that LED screen that Marvel does or Disney does,
Yeah.
where it's like it's this vast world, but we're gonna center it on like two characters in front of a green screen.
Right. Yeah. Let's hope. Let's hope that's not the case.
Yes.
All right. Let's move on. We have anything that we want to talk about that we watched this week?
Two things that came out this week that I have
Mm.
yet to watch. One, the goat roast. That is the Tom Brady comedic roast. Did not
Right.
watch it live, and I was gonna watch it, but it's 3 hours long, so I opted for something shorter
Yeah.
instead. But I will get to it from the little bits that I've seen people quote on it. It's pretty funny.
Okay.
But I will have thoughts on that probably next week.
Okay. Yeah. Not a roast person, so I will pass on that.
Yep.
But
And number two,
yes.
season 3 of Hacks came back.
Right. Yes.
So that premiered on Thursday, I think Thursday or Friday. Didn't get to it, so I'll get to those first couple episodes a bit later.
Yes. Christy also will be jumping into that sometime soon, so I'll be able to get her opinion about that as well.
Yes.
Um, Couple things I wanted to bring up real quick. Still wrapping up the circle. The
Waiting
finale
for
will
one
be
more
this
episode.
week.
Yep,
Yep. So we'll be able to talk about the wrap up of that next week.
that's next week.
Um, Also, I believe we're coming to the end of X-Men 99 within the next 2 weeks, or 97 in the next couple weeks. So
Yes,
we'll be
there are
able to
eight
talk about
episodes
that.
up, probably of 10. There's at
Probably
least
10.
one more episode because the part
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
So there'll at least be a part two
So
and maybe
are
a
you
part three.
are you caught up?
I am 2 episodes shy of catching up.
Okay. How are you feeling? I haven't gotten your temperature at all because you hadn't even watched it well last time we talked about it.
Oh no, I binge watched it because I thought it
Mhm.
was ending.
Yeah.
Um, I like some of the stuff that they're doing. I like what it's like attempting to do from carrying on the story from the original 97 series. Um, I don't think the animation lines up at all. I think it's its own like unique animation style
I mean,
compared to
it's
it.
better the thing is it's so much there's a budget.
Yes, there's a budget. It's cleaner. It's a lot
Yeah.
cleaner. But actual story wise, it gets a bit too comic booky for me, but I think they can get away with it because it's animated.
It's funny that you say that because I'm not getting comic booky out of it because that usually turns me off really fast.
Mhm.
It is complicated,
I'm sorry,
but I
think
like
Double Jean Greys did not make it comic booky for you.
I think that it does a pretty decent job of at least convincing the uninitiated right here
Yes.
of what it's trying to do without any knowledge. So I don't know. I'm not having that hard of a time with it.
Yeah. But anyways, that first episode, super piloty of a pilot episode to get you
Yes.
caught up. If It's assuming like you didn't watch you didn't
I
watch it
didn't.
at all, and so
Yeah,
we need to get you caught up with a bunch of backstory and a bunch of plugs of what happened.
it worked for me.
All right,
But yeah, I'm having a good time with it. I'm really interested to see what they do to wrap this up. If they even try. I don't even know. Because they haven't even been clear about whether we're getting more of this.
right. They haven't made clear if it's a single season
Yeah,
or what. It says season one, so that implies it could become season two.
I hope so. I would like to see more. I'm enjoying my time with it.
Yes.
Um, then the other thing, as I've written down on the form here that I forgot to write prior, hey, Selena Gomez is back on Max with another cooking show.
Is she
This is
invading
the
more restaurants?
So that's the thing is that before the restaurants invaded her more accurately.
Right. Is Selena cook at home? Selena
Yeah,
chef at
so
home.
it was Selena and Chef was the previous 4 seasons, and how that worked is that basically the chef would walk through Selena Gomez in her own kitchen how to make a dish. Well, they've reversed the premise. Now Selena is going to restaurants, hence Selena plus restaurant, in the LA area and working with chefs on their turf instead. So far we've only watched the first episode. She goes to Cut Steakhouse with Wolfgang Puck. And gets to learn how to make a steak correctly and gets to have a chance at putting a dish that she's created on the menu. So that's kind of basically the premise is it's like a test that she has to pass, and then she gets to make something creative and see if the chefs like it. So far, yeah, seems like cool premise. We like Selena. We like cooking shows. So yeah, we're gonna keep on going with it.
It must be nice to be a celebrity and just walk into a restaurant kitchen and make something.
Right. Just be allowed to use that. But
Allowed
yeah.
to use all the proper chef tools at your disposal.
But yeah, it's fun. I understand it's also on Food Network this year. I believe it's a
Hmm.
simul release thing, but we're watching it on Max. But yeah, so far so fun. So that's good stuff.
All
Other than
right.
that, oh yeah, Jeopardy Masters premiered
Yes.
this week. I have not jumped into that yet.
Nope. That is being put on Hulu,
Yeah,
like,
it's
and
Hulu's.
promoted the hell up via Disney Plus as well.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So yeah, we'll get to it. But yeah, that's it for television on our side.
Yep. In that case, that's all we have to
Anything
talk
else?
about with TV. Yeah, nothing else
Okay.
for me on
All
my
right.
end.
You didn't watch anything else, then we can move on to cancellations and renewals.
What am I no longer watching?
No cancellations this week, just a lot of renewals. We start with ABC, who has renewed Press Your Luck for a sixth season, Claim to Fame for a third season, and Celebrity Who Wants to Be a Millionaire for a third season. So the game shows are coming back.
That is still proper Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, but it's just the celebrity edition hosted by Jimmy
Mhm.
Kimmel that aired 2 seasons in 2020 and 2021 during the pandemic. Well, it took 2 years off, but it's coming back
Okay.
this summer, where celebrities will once again play for charity, not proper Who
Right.
Wants to Be a Millionaire game show.
Okay.
Thus the
Good to know.
celebrity part.
But you know what we're asking here, as the only family, the only the house that loves this. Where is Generation Gap? Give us season 3 of Generation Gap. Anyway, maybe they will, maybe they won't.
Will Kelly Ripa want to do it?
I mean, hey, she still does her show, her talk show. So anyway, also renewed this week. NBC has renewed Night Court for a third season. That has lasted way longer than I thought it was going to. I'll
It
just say
lasted
that.
way longer than anyone thought watching the first 4 episodes because no one, I mean, because
Yeah.
people who watched everything past that like actually enjoyed it.
I guess so. I don't know. Maybe there's something in there. And we just mentioned the Kentucky Derby. Well, NBC has locked down the Derby for another 8 years, taking their contract with the Derby till 2032. So they'll be the one place to watch it for the considerable future here.
And this just goes in lockstep with NBC once again putting their stamp on anything sports related and wanting to
Yes.
be associated with sports and live entertainment.
Yep, they're doing it. All right, that's it for television. So let's move on into our last segment of the show today with his movies. And we always start the movies with the weekend box office numbers. Your number one movie, as predicted, was your new release this week, which was The Fall Guy, starring Ryan Gosling. That made $28.5 million this week. Number
An
two,
abysmal 28.5 million.
yeah,
At least I'm pretty sure I got that right. That wasn't the one day.
uh, that wasn't the one. What? I don't know.
I'll look it up real quick, but I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that was the weekend. It sounds
Okay,
like it was a one day, but no, that was the
but no,
weekend.
it's a slow time for movies right now. I think everybody was. I think summer stuff is getting there, but I think that'll take a little bit
Well, you know it's a
to
slow time with
readjust.
your number two movie being at the number two slot.
Yes. What year is this? We say again, because your number two movie this week is Star Wars Episode One: The Phantom Menace. No, it's not 1999. They re-released it for a 25th anniversary release. It made
They
$8 million.
released it because it was Star Wars weekend with May the 4th.
Yes. So yeah, $8 million. That's, some people saw it.
Yeah.
Number three, Challengers continues to bring in the thruples with $7.6 million this week. That's at 29 domestic. Number four, your horror release for the week, Tarot, with $6.5 million in its debut. And then rounding out your top five, Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire, with another $4.5 million. That's at a respectable 188. That could maybe limp to 200.
We've seen worse limp to
Yeah.
200. Looking at you, Migration.
Yeah, yeah, it could do
I
it.
saw that. We saw that limp to 100. So this one could
Yeah,
probably get to two.
it could do it. It could do it. So there you go. Godzilla still got legs and
Yes.
spikes and laser breath.
Kong got the legs.
Yeah.
Godzilla's got the breath.
Speaking of monkeys, this week's big new release is Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which is the newest in the Planet of the Apes franchise. So if you're seeing a movie, that's probably it.
Yep, that is your big, wide new release. If
Yep.
you want to catch up on all the previous Planet of the Apes, I suggest watching a YouTube video. Or if you actually want to watch the movies, I think they're associated with Disney and Hulu now, so they're all there.
Yeah, they
Because
think they
20th
are. Yeah.
Century
Yeah, it
Fox.
was a Fox thing. So yeah,
Yep,
probably Hulu.
yep.
So check that out. All right. Let's move on into a story that actually I've seen kind of rumbling under the surface for a few months here. Paramount has been in the news a lot in the entertainment papers because are they merging? Are they getting bought? Are they buying? What's going on with Paramount? Well, the newest news on this front has Sony Pictures Entertainment and Apollo Global Management making a bid to take Paramount private with an all cash buyout offer of $26 billion. The bid, which would include the assumption of debt, would be a premium over the company's current $22 billion enterprise value. The buyout bid comes as Paramount Global is also considering a proposal from Skydance Media to merge Paramount and Skydance while keeping Paramount Global public. However, insiders expect both proposals to ultimately be declined, given anticipated regulatory hurdles required to complete such transactions. Because that's kind of been the backdrop to all of this, all of these talks in the last year or so. As long as we're still looking at a Lena Khan led FTC, this is not probably going to happen. Um,
Mhm.
Regulation has been strict. Yes, the Activision Microsoft merger happened. But beyond that, I think it's going to be really hard for Paramount to prove that it will be good for competition if they get bigger.
It won't be that hard to prove because of Paramount Plus and streaming numbers, which that was also another story this week that Nielsen will start be giving numbers to SAG-AFTRA as part of
Yeah.
their deal, as part of a third party. So we will get not only the numbers that the streaming parents provide, but also from third party data as well, which is good. But going back to this specific bid, and Paramount denying both bids, I think you're right that this is not so much more about the cash and being bought out or merging with another company. I think it is about if we accept it, will it go through?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of question marks. Say it again. We are in an election year.
Mm-hmm. Because do they don't want to push this through right away when, let's say, a Democrat is in power. They're gonna want to wait if, for example, the party does change, on a federal level. They're going to want to wait for a more regulation light party to be in power when they do push this through. So, yeah, this is all just preliminary discovery. This is all just they're figuring out, feeling out
No,
what makes
Discovery was in
sense.
back in January.
No, not that discovery. But yeah, so we'll see. Yeah, I can't imagine any movement quite yet, but regardless, Paramount wants to make a move. Is just what move and when.
And at least we now have a number,
Yeah,
$26 billion.
26 billion. Yeah, so we'll see.
Um, in the blurb I wrote or I read, they still mention that Sony does not have a streaming service. So I guess, rip Crackle, you never existed.
Sorry, Crackle. Well, Crackle still exists as a name of a channel on like Pluto's and stuff like that. The things that are like you can browse through live
Yeah,
channels. Crackle exists as that. It's a brand still, but it's not a separate app like it used to be. RIP Crackle.
yes.
Also my favorite crunchy chocolate bar.
That's Crunch.
No, that's Crackle.
Yeah, I know.
There's both. Anyway, enough about Crackle. Speaking of things that are
Or
candy bar adjacent or frosted in some way, you watched a movie. I guess you could call it a movie.
call it a
Uh,
movie. I don't know, it's
that I have,
80 it's 80 minutes long, so
yeah,
technically
oof,
it counts as a movie.
ugh, that I've heard nothing but bad things about. And Jerry Seinfeld has been out here promoting this to death and not selling anybody on it. You watched Unfrosted. Tell me how you survived.
I survived by just enjoying the different cameos that were thrown in my face.
Because that's all you really get.
And that's all you can really get
Yeah.
out of this, yes. The negative press you have been seeing about this, pretty accurate. It is a cameo fest. It is a who's who of Jerry's friends, and then anybody in the comedic world, just like, oh, that's that guy. Oh, that's that girl. Oh, I know them. I know that. I've seen that person. It's a lot of that, and it's a if that's the best thing about this going forward, that means the story itself, the setup, the premise, the action, the set pieces just fall flat, especially the
Meh.
jokes.
Yeah.
Um, because the actual setup for this is weird because you have just Jerry Seinfeld as a former Post executive sitting in a diner telling this story to a kid who's about to run away about the story of Pop Tart and how it came to be. So while this movie's going, I'm of two minds. Like, is this Jerry Seinfeld telling the story, or is this just the imagination of the kid as he's hearing the story? But let me tell you, either way you take those setups, because this sets place in like the 1970s or like 60s, it looks like a mid-town diner. The jokes and the pop culture references made do not fit the time period. Some are like tongue in cheek winks and nods, but then some are like, I'm gonna make a 2000s joke. I'm gonna make an Apple iPad joke. I'm gonna make a Steve Jobs joke. I'm gonna make a storming the Capitol insurrection joke.
Okay.
And when you get that far into it, who's telling the story? How's this like at all playing within the rules of the world? And am I just supposed to be like, you know what? You lost me a while ago, so I'm just gonna barrel through with like an open mind of, yeah, sure, why not? I guess this works. But does it? It doesn't work. No, it doesn't. It's making like absurd, outrageous jokes for the sake of making a joke.
Yeah.
They made a living Pop Tart, like animated Pop Tart.
Wait. The different living Pop Tart than the one we saw in the college games last year.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, like an actual like animated living Pop Tart in the realm of the movie, which they set up him to like play like a big like payoff, but doesn't really. And it's just a really weird amalgamation of different comedians who feel like they have different inputs in stuff, and it just comes out very well, I guess, unfrosted because it's not that delicious. It's not that appetizing to watch. It's not that appetizing to
Appetizing.
enjoy. Like the entire time I'm watching, I'm like, okay, like I get the joke. Like I get the setup, the joke, the double down, the callback. Like I see it, the structure's there, but I think it might be a bit too formulaic of a structure that none of it feels authentic and it all feels very forced
Mhm.
from delivery to acting to just the writing itself. And I don't know who to blame here. I mean, I think it's easy to blame just Jerry Seinfeld because he wrote and directed and produced this thing. So I think it was like his way or the highway in this. So
Sounds like it.
doesn't it's not something to write home about. It's not something to say, oh, you should check this shit out because it's funny. It's like, hey, watch this thing because it's terrible, or watch this thing because it's like it's got a bunch of comedians in it that you'll find, or drink anytime you recognize a cameo. But it's just overall just not. It tries to poke fun at too many things and just very unfocused.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it's called. This unfocused instead of unfrosted.
Focus, yeah, instead of unfrost. Yeah, that's the vibe I got from this thing. I like, conceptually, I think there is potential for somebody to have some fun with the idea of let's do a parody of these corporate, like, like stuff like Air
We did
and
see it
like,
in the Weird Al Yankovic story,
no, but I'm talking about even more specific because what
like a
this is trying to do
corporate,
is,
yeah,
like I said, like Air, like, or what was the other one?
the
The
Beanie
Beanie
Baby
Baby
one,
one,
yeah.
or like there's potential for that to be a really funny concept,
Hmm.
but it seems like this was not that.
I feel like if they would have done something like that, should have taken it out of the food. No, I guess you could do it with food, but like make it more light and heavy. Like I keep thinking like make it like Silly Putty, like or like Pet Rock. Pet Rock is a very dumb concept,
Yeah.
and you can make so many jokes about it, and have like a Zoolander-esque kind of comedy about it, where you feel like nobody gets the joke, like everybody gets the joke but you because it's a pet rock. Like it's just a rock. Why are you so obsessed with this rock? Except
Yeah.
everyone obsessed with except for the one guy. Like that could be a funny concept.
Yeah. Could be,
I don't see that here
but
though.
not quite. Oh well. Swing and a miss, Jerry. Well, it's okay because apparently comedians are too woke for him now anyway. So who cares about him? Anyway, so is that all we watched movie wise? I didn't get to that Amazon Anne Hathaway rom-com thing. We were supposed to watch it this week. We might watch it this week, so I might talk about it next time.
There's also the rom-com on Netflix, Anyone But You, briefly in theaters, now on Netflix. So two different rom-coms for you to cuddle up with.
Well, there you
All right. If nothing else, I think we just hit a no, we didn't hit a record. No,
go.
we're done here. Well, let's wrap it
Yeah.
up. Plug away.
I think we can. So thank you for listening to this episode or watching this episode of the Media Boat Podcast, wherever you may do that. If you want to know where to watch us, we're on YouTube. Search Media Boat Podcast there. Find our channel. Like, subscribe, click the bell for notifications when new videos go live. You can also hear us in audio form on podcast services such as Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify. Just put in Media Boat Podcast and you'll find us. You can also find us on social media platforms like X or Blue Sky. Just search Media Boat there. You can also find us on twitch.tv/MediaBoat, where you can see us playing video games like Mike's been playing on and off again Final Fantasy games. So you can see him continue
Are
through
you
that.
going to be streaming Hades 2?
I might stream some Hades too. That's, I think, you saying that I should do it.
Yes.
So I might do it. So yeah, look forward to that possibly. You can also find us on MediaBoatPodcast.com, our website, where we have an archive of all our previous shows as well as some special features. And if you want to email us questions, comments, feedback about the show, The best way to do that is by emailing us at mediaboatpodcast@gmail.com. So that will do it. We'll be back next week for more of the show, more news, more thoughts, more everything. So tune in then. In the meantime, have a good week and we'll see you guys next time.
Okay, bye.
Bye bye.